Is Kyoji Horiguchi the dark horse at flyweight? Last weekend, Horiguchi put on a great performance against Amir Albazi in a co-main event, and he looked terrific. He looked like he could have gone 5 rounds, no doubt. This UFC return, it's going about as good as it could go for Horiguchi. But how much further can he go this time around? He's fought twice in less than a year span, and he now finds himself in the top five of the division, which sounds about right when you start to look at the names there. Somewhere around that top five spot seems fair enough for Horiguchi. He's been at the top in and out of the UFC for a while now. There's no question he deserves this spot. You have some names like Albazi, which he just beat, hanging around the top spots of the division that are likely on the way out soon. Amir being proven to be one of those guys now. He dropped down to 7. And honestly, Albazi could have dropped down further, in my opinion, but you got Moreno. Now he's at 6, matched up with 16th rank Loner Kavanaugh later this month. And that could be another example of a flyweight shakeup if Loner can get it done. And you got Royval at 4. He's on a 2-fight losing streak, so we'll see who his next fight is and if he can keep his top 5 spot. But back to Horiguchi and his win over Albazi. He outclassed Albazi. He wouldn't stand in front of Albazi just showcasing his footwork and angling constantly, circling constantly. There was truly a big skill gap there. Albazi, he just couldn't do anything with Horiguchi. Couldn't string together really any momentum, let alone at any point in the fight where he had any urgency. Just a lack of output through all 3 rounds. And with this win for Gucci, he can't be too far away from a title shot now. Some of you might view Albazi as an easy win for someone like Horiguchi, and I'm kind of one of those people. Unfortunately, Albazi has been through some serious surgeries, heart and spinal, and is honestly a champion in that aspect. Him being able to return and continue with his career after those 2 major surgeries and a 1.5 year layoff from UFC competition too. That's just something to note there. But I think we all knew Albazi is not on Kyoji's level. And the UFC knew this too. This would push Kyoji further up the rankings, and now the division is becoming one of those stacked divisions. Fights are being made, and rankings are getting swapped. So at this point, should we be waiting for the Pantoja and Van rematch? Or should we start looking at guys like Horiguchi to jump Pantoja and keep the division rolling? Because you got a few guys in that top 5 that have not fought each other. So we can keep making champ versus next contender almost seamlessly. The thing now is Horiguchi broke his hand versus Albazi, and he's out for an unknown amount of time, just like Pantoja. And this makes me beg for it again. Please just make Van versus Cop. Both guys healthy and waiting. Both guys back and forth for the past couple of months following Cop's last win over Royval. I think the thing preventing that is that Pantoja is actually coming back a lot sooner than we anticipated at first. When you look at what happened to Pantoja, my initial thought was, oh, that's 6 months minimum. But since then, we've learned he doesn't need surgery. And videos have surfaced of Pantoja lifting weights and seemingly back to normal training. I'm sure he does have some limitations, but he looks like he's already back. But I have no problem with the UFC bumping up Horiguchi to fight Van. It's just not the ideal timing for Horiguchi, especially now that his hand is broken. Because other than that, he really could have turned around and fought Moreno later this month, like it was reported he wanted to when Asu Almabayev pulled out of that UFC Fight Night Mexico main event. But if they were to fight later this summer, who would you favor in that fight? That's tough. I think against Van, most would favor Horiguchi in that one off of experience. But stylistically, Van, being a combination striker, a higher volume striker, he leaves a lot of openings through that. It might not fare well against someone like Horiguchi, who can kind of just touch and go. And then plus, Horiguchi has the edge on the ground too. It would be a close fight. That one is tough to say who would come out on top, but more realistically, if Horiguchi is not next for Van, who could be his potential next fight? Could it be a Japan main event, maybe? Maybe Taira versus Horiguchi? Maybe. Maybe not. So let's break down the dynamics within the top 5 of this division right now. You got Van, the champ. You got Pantoja, former champ and rightful next contender, recovering from injury, but likely to return soon. So if Pantoja can't fight soon enough, who would Van fight realistically? I think Kopp is the obvious answer. Stylistically, a great matchup and a fight already built up. So if we had to do some true rankings here, I think Taira and Horiguchi are tied at that 3 spot right now. Taira might be just a bit more deserving because his run in the promotion has been deeper than Horiguchi's this time around. But like I said before, Horiguchi has been a world-class top flyweight for many years. He's just been out of the UFC's audience's view, so 2 Japanese superstars colliding would be very fun. I'm not against it. And I think it's the right fight to make at this moment. Only problem again is the broken hand. But with all that being said, I think Horiguchi, he deserves a title shot. It would be a shame if he just doesn't get one this time around. He looks to be in his prime. He might not be the most deserving, but I can't see a world where he doesn't get a crack at it if this division keeps rolling. He got his shot back in the day against DJ. I wasn't a fan at that time, but many say that was pre-prime Horiguchi. And what we're seeing now is prime Horiguchi. So I think he will get his shot eventually. It's not going to be as soon as some might think, especially him. He called out Josh Van after beating Albazi, and it was a good call out. He had a great performance, but he's a little late to the party. A few guys, they're already waiting in line, so you might have to fight again or just wait it out. So we'll see what is going to happen in this flyweight division. So there's a lot of fights that need to be made. Right now, we're looking at endless matchups right now, honestly, with Josh Van as the champ, and seemingly there is no fight booked as of yet for him. I think we're going to see soon enough. If you enjoyed this video, please check out some of my other videos and please subscribe to the channel. Give this video a like. I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much.